now it's time for this. So obviously Astros, Phillies, first game's not till Friday, which it just kind of drives me nuts. I mean, there's so many days, and the obvious question is that I think anybody in sports is going to say, is the momentum going to kind of stop? I mean, Houston, they had a good layover, you know what I mean, from there. Then they got jumped into the 3-game and then the 4-game series. It didn't affect them at all. But you got a hot team like the Phillies who have kind of been riding this hot streak. Do you think it's going to slow them down just a little bit? I think yes. I think having these many days off is going to kill the little bit of the buzz that they had going on, pun intended, because they were slugging booze in that locker room. And I think it's going to kind of the fans. Yes, they're going to be loud, but if you were to have a game, well, obviously the first couple are going to be in Houston anyways, but you get a game in there a little bit sooner. Now you're talking over a week before they play in Philly, and I think
I think it could wear off.
I really do. I think the buzz is still going to be there, but I don't think it's going to be as electric as it was.
Yeah, it definitely could hurt them because all around they are not as full a team as Houston, right?
Yeah.
And so if you take away the buzz, the rah, whatever, then Houston looks better.
Yeah.
If let's say they play like 2 days after, then you have an even series.
It's true, because
except they don't.
Now you have the Verlander, who is probably going to be the number one. He's going to be the number one pitcher for there. So you give him more rest. And you know what I mean?
Huge.
And the potential to, he's going to pitch twice in the series if it goes more than, a couple of games. And, but either way, yeah. So obviously we covered Astros 7-0 this postseason, the whole 2017, cheaters, this and that. They're pretty much the kings of October as of late. I mean, we looked up the stats. It's 6 straight LCSs that they've been to. They, in 2017, obviously won. They beat the Dodgers. They beat the Yankees in there. They lost to the Red Sox in 18. They beat the Yankees again in 19, losing to the Nationals in the World Series. Lost to Tampa in 2020. Beat the Red Sox again in 2001, then lost to the Braves, and they beat the Yankees again. So it's kind of like they beat the Yankees, they beat the Sox, they beat the Yankees, they beat the Rays. There's a common theme of who seems to make it at least to the ALCS. It seems to come out of the East. Maybe Logan will get lucky. It'll be the Jays one of these years in the near future. But either way, we're not going to bring up that topic. But either way, so I mean, they 6 straight swept the Yankees. Is this going to be the year that they do something big?
If they don't, is it a huge failure? Do they start to look like the Dodgers or the Braves of the 90s?
I think so. I mean, how many times? I guess you play to win the championship. I mean, yes, having 1, 2, 3, 4 ALCSs in that many years, 6 years, like that's really good. But at the end of the day, you gotta continue to win. They have one, which I think is like a little bit of a savior in 17. But I mean, you start to get into the fact that you're 1-4, you know what I mean? It's 25% is not that great.
It's better than 0%, but you're right. When you get there, you got to win some.
Yep, and they're built to win. I mean, they really are. And then you have a Phillies team that they wouldn't have got into the postseason if MLB didn't change the format.
Crazy.
They added the third wild card, and the Phillies were able to get in and make a run. This is, I think, another point. I think the people that were on the voting committee for baseball to have this happen are sitting there smiling like, see, good decision, because you have a team that got hot at the right moment. It seems to happen in sports often. So it almost seems like there's this team that shouldn't have made it, and they make a run just to prove with that chip on their shoulder, like, hey, we belong here. Now look at us. And it's a pretty cool thing, except for the teams that had to play them. And everybody said coming in, hey, Phillies are dangerous. But almost every sports expert was like, they don't have a chance. There's no way they're going to get by a Braves, a Dodgers, or any of them. And look, they continue to prove people wrong. And that's a scary team to have to play against. And again, first time since 2011, they've been in here, and the first time, obviously, in a World Series since they won it in 2008, 2009. So that was a pretty good team too.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good team. But just kind of looking at the regular season, the Astros have won 19 more games than the Phillies. But obviously, all that matters is game one. And I thought I read somewhere that the last time that the Phillies actually lost a game, they're like 11-1 this year in October. And the one game that they lost was to the Phillies when the Phillies clinched that they were in the playoffs, and the Astros had nothing to play for. The Phillies beat them 3-0. So could you imagine? Hey, the next thing you know, the Phillies are like, hey, we're the king of October. Right. But Phillies are going to have ace Zach Wheeler on the mound, who's 12-7 with a 2.82 ERA. Again, expected to start. He's 1-1 with a 1.78 ERA in the 4 postseason starts. 25 Ks, just 3 walks over 25 1/3 innings. He missed a month, obviously, kind of later in the season. What do you have? Forearm something tendonitis or tightness or something like that.
This rest will really do him well.
I think so,
much like
too.
it will Verlander. So I think
Yep.
I think you got two guys. One's older, and the other one is quote unquote building up to speed. Well, he's ready. He's in the World Series, but the rest sets it up nicely for the first couple games.
Yep. And I think, that injury might have kind of got him going. Like you said, he had a little bit of some time to rest, to build the arm up, whatever he had going on. And I mean, he's pitching some of, if not the best baseball that he's ever played and pitched in his entire career. I mean, crazy to think though that he's 1-1 in those 4 starts with only a 1.70 ERA. So, I mean, just shows not only that, how well he's pitched, but how good that bullpen's really been for them, which we're going to kind of do a bullpen comparison right now. But let's talk about obviously the Astros. Justin Verlander, he's going to be on the mound for them. He's 1-0 with a 6.3 ERA this postseason. Much different ERAs coming in there. Verlander started game 1 of the ALDS against the Mariners, gave up 6 runs, 10 hits in 4 innings. But he pitched game 1 to start the ALCS. He just allowed 1 run, 3 hits in 6 innings against the Yankees.
Struck out 11, dominant. And I was watching that. I really thought he could have went another inning.
Yeah,
he could have went 7 or 8 that game.
Oh, easily. But
I know why they didn't.
Yep. For this reason. Cool little thing too, his last final regular season start was on October 4th against the Phillies. He didn't allow a hit in 5 innings. Right. So he was 18-4 on the season with a 1.75 ERA. There talks in him being the Cy Young, hard to argue against 18-4 with a 1.75 ERA, especially at his age. His postseason career numbers: 15-11, 3.55 ERA in 33 games, 32 starts. But listen to this one: 0-6 with a 5.68 ERA in 7 World Series starts.
Isn't that crazy?
Oof.
That's crazy.
It's unbelievable. So how do you see him this kind of pitch up match? Is either of them going to get the official win in game 1?
I think no.
Okay.
I think it's going to be. I hope it's going to be low scoring. I think the first 2 games are going to be low scoring. The next 2 games are going to be. There's going to be more runs.
Do you know how it's going to be high scoring? When I take my bets and I place like no first inning runs. There's always a first inning run every time. 1st through 5, no runs. There's going to be a bunch of runs. And whenever I take the under, there's a lot of runs. So I'll let everybody know what I'm betting on the World Series for each game. So you guys can just bet the opposite.
Do the opposite.
Make some money.
Yeah. Yeah. I think between Verlander and it should be Valdez second, right? I believe.
Yeah.
And then Wheeler and Nola. I think Nola won't have a bad game this time around.
No, it's hard for a guy of his talent to have 2 in a row.
2 in a row. Yeah.
I mean, so I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say Verlander gets the win. I'm going to say he gets his first World Series win. He's going to be 1 for 6, and he's going to have still probably like a 5.25 ERA or something like that. But 8 World Series, I think 8's his lucky number. I'm going to go with Verlander gets the dub, and Houston's going to take game 1.
Okay.
That's my prediction just for game 1. And so what do you?
That's strong. Game 1, then I will go. I think Wheeler outpitches him.
Okay.
Just on that fact, I'll give the Phillies game 1.
Okay. So we're a little split on that. And just
writing this down so I remember.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. So just to kind of back Logan up on this one, the Phillies entered the World Series with the top 4 hitters in its lineup swinging very good. Manager Rob Thompson has been pretty consistent. He hasn't really messed with the lineups. As we talked about in the last episode, the only changes are with Marsh and Stott, whether it's a righty, lefty. He kind of plays that. Maybe Verling and Sosa. He kind of plays those. The expected lineup's probably going to be Schwarber, Hoskins, Real Muto, Harper, Castellanos, Baum, Stott, Segura, Marsh. I mean, the Phillies have just been hot. Like we just talked about Harper, he's 419, 6 doubles, 5 home runs, 11 RBIs this postseason. Then you have Schwarber, who's 368, 3 homers, 4 RBIs, and a 1.442 OPS in the past 7 playoff games. Hoskins, 269, 5 homers, 11 RBIs, 1.9. And they are crushing the ball. So
they're crushing the ball.
I mean, if you base it off that, there's going to be some runs, and then you kind of pair it with how Verlander does, giving up 5-6 runs. We could easily see, a 7-5 game, 6-5 game. I'm curious, and while you kind of give your thoughts on that too, I'm going to look up real quick just to see if they have the over/under props for game 1 already, for like an over/under. The run line's always going to be 1.5. I'm assuming the Astros are going to be the favorite here, but I'm curious what the over/under is going to be.
Last series in the NLCS, Phillies hit 10 home runs. The Astros hit 6, which is not a huge difference. Ooh. Except Altuve's batting 188. He finally got his 3 hits the last 2 games. Alvarez went. Granted, it's just 4 games against the Yankees.
Yep.
Alvarez went 3 for 14. Struck out 6 times, walked 3. Altuve walked twice, struck
Yeah.
out 5 times. Those
Up.
strikeouts are high,
Yep.
but they're not crazy like some of the Yankee guys.
And Alvarez is 7 for 29, 2 homers, 8 RBIs in the entire playoffs. So
Trey Mancini, limited, doesn't have a hit. Kyle Tucker is a huge one. He had 30 home runs this year. He went 2 for 13, no RBIs, walked 3, only struck out twice. He makes good contact.
Mhm.
They don't get a ton out of the catcher spot right now. Man, Phillies.
but yeah, Gurriel, 11 for
Gurriel,
Gurriel.
Bregman, Payne, and McCormick all
Real good.
just like hit.
Yep.
McCormick only had 3 hits, but 2 were home runs for 3 RBIs. Pena, Bregman, Gurriel, all 333 or 353. Those guys are hot.
Mhm.
If one of Altuve and Alvarez get hot, completely different lineup. If they stay cold, that changes it because Philly, if they stay hot, has I don't want to say stronger lineup, just they're more powerful, definitely a more powerful lineup. They will strike out. They will strike out more though.
Yeah, I think though you look at the year numbers, you can't argue going into the playoffs that the Astros lineup was. We said it here. Astros lineup on paper was the best well-rounded team from hitters, pitchers, bullpen, everything. And I still think that. I mean, you look at the names. And I think that's a big mistake, whether you're betting or just kind of looking at predictions. You try to base it off that last game, that last series. You got to think they're still 7-0. They're still the Astros. They still won way more games.
Kyle Tucker is still Kyle Tucker.
Yep.
Yordan Alvarez and Altuve are still themselves.
Yep.
They can hit. That was a 4-game swing. Like Altuve struggled, clearly.
Yes.
But he also has 3 hits in his last 2 games. Take that for what it's worth. But the last thing any Phillies fans want is for Altuve to be like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait, we're in the World Series? Oh, okay. Well, I better start hitting now.
It's time to go.
Time to go.
And that's what all-stars do. That's what good players do. And you have to think, going back to kind of our point that they've been here before, they know how to handle this, from the press conferences to the environment to everything. They know what it takes to not only win, but they know what it takes to unfortunately lose, and they don't want to. With this star power, with their lineup, they are a tough out. And maybe most of them probably weren't born in 1980, but in 1980, the Astros and the Phillies, they met in the playoffs. They met in the NLCS, because maybe even a lot of you baseball fans don't know, the Astros weren't always an AL team. They were an NL team for most of their existence. So they played in the NLCS, and then the Astros and the Phillies split the first 2 games, the best of 5 NLCS, and then they dropped the final 2 games. 4 of the 5 games went into extra innings. 1980, long time ago.
It was a good series.
Yeah, and just kind of throwing some more numbers, the Astros are 9-15 all time in the World Series. They lost 6 of their last 8 games in the World Series. Houston is 3-9 all time at home in the World Series, having lost 6 of their last 7 World Series home games. 6 of their last 7 home games they've lost.
The Astros?
The Astros.
And the funny part is, like, I don't usually like team stats because you're like, there's 4 and 5 and 9 worlds. Like, it's different teams, but this is not a different team. This is the same team.
Yeah.
This is the same core of people that have been there for, now 4 times.